This is immigration attorney Parviz Malakouti. In this video, I want to talk about a recent case I had with a person who was able to renew DACA after having a conviction in the state of California for DUI, driving under the influence. So backing up for a quick second, this lady, she unfortunately got a DUI in 2019. She pled guilty. That was Penal Code 23152. That's the penal code in California for DUI. And she was not able to renew DACA because, as many of you know, DUI in California is considered a significant misdemeanor such that a person who has DACA is not eligible to renew DACA. So her DACA ran out, she pled guilty to DUI, and then eventually she was able to get probation for DUI. Well, not eventually, she got probation right after the case, and she was able to file for early termination of probation. Then she expunged the DUI conviction. And then we were able to apply for DACA again with her, okay, with a lot of evidence of positive equities in her life. And I'll talk about that in a minute, as well as evidence of her previous criminal conviction and the early termination of probation, and of course the expungement, and of course a cover letter from myself. And that case was just recently approved. Okay, so she was a DACA recipient in California, convicted of DUI, was able to expunge the DUI, and then successfully apply again for DACA. And I'm going to explain to you how she was able to do that and two factors that were very important in that case. So backing up for a quick second, this applicant, one thing that she had to her benefit before she ever even got a DUI, okay, and she maintained this all the way throughout having the DUI up until the time that she was my client, was that she was very active in her community. She did a lot of volunteer work, okay? She was active in, she had a leadership position in a regional community service organization. She did community service with her job, and I'll talk about her job as well because she had a very supportive employment atmosphere. And this was critical for her because she was able to use that evidence of volunteer work, of community service, first to get early termination of her probation. She was sentenced to 36 months of probation. She was able to get that terminated after only a year, actually. She had almost 2 years left on probation. That was a factor. Volunteer work in California is a factor for arguing for early termination of probation. And then she got her DUI expunged, of course. And then the second way that she was able to positively use that evidence of volunteer work is that we use that volunteer work to show positive equities when she applied for her DACA renewal. So how do we do this? Well, we showed basically evidence of activities that she had been involved in her local organization. We showed flyers for events that they had. One of the flyers had her name in it. We had basically email evidence, okay, of her involvement in that organization. And then we also used declarations, okay? So we had declarations from people in her life that were involved in that same volunteer initiative, as well as other people in her life which were not involved, but knew that she was somebody that was very active in the community. So that little thing, or I don't know if it's a little thing, but that aspect that she had of volunteering and doing community service helped her in two ways: early termination of probation and the renewal. And we just got that renewal approved last month in October, okay, actually September, excuse me. So that was a huge factor for her. Now, what's the second factor that was big for her? It was that she had a lot of support, okay, from people in her life, in her community, and in her workplace. She was an excellent employee, and she was an excellent coworker, and she was an excellent manager, okay? So we were able to get declarations from her former employees, and her job was actually, they valued her so much that they kept the position for her, even though she was not able to work, okay? But she made such a positive impression that we got declarations from them, sworn declarations that were heartfelt, that were real. Okay, you could tell when you read these declarations that this person, the applicant, my client, really made an impact on people around her. Okay, so we included those declarations, we included the evidence of her volunteer work, and then of course what she's doing in her life. She had a 4-year college degree and she had plans to proceed. And then of course I wrote a cover letter, okay, a short cover letter, basically applying the law to the situation, arguing for her to be able to get DACA again, basically arguing for merit of discretion. We sent that whole package in to USCIS, and she just got approved last week, okay? So this is an example for anybody else that's out there that's a DACA recipient, or let's say a non-DACA dreamer. If you're somebody who has had an arrest, or unfortunately maybe a conviction of either a non-significant or a significant misdemeanor, since the last time you renewed DACA, This is the type of thing that you want to gather. You want to gather evidence of positive equities, which is volunteer work, community service, anything you do to help people around you. This can help you. And I'll even take it a step further for dreamers or DACA recipients who haven't had any brush in with the law. If you want to do something that could possibly protect you in the future, as well as obviously do good in the community and possibly help you advance your career, you can actually go out and get involved in the community, help people do things, be involved in some sort of initiative. And then, God forbid, if you ever run into any trouble in the future that threatens your potential DACA, you could have that volunteer work, that community service that you've been doing as kind of a card in your back pocket to play, okay, in terms of being able to apply again for DACA. So that's basically it for today's video. I just want to go over that success story and what this applicant did. She did a great job in being prepared. She was very on top of everything in her life. She did everything to make it easier for me as an attorney to argue that she was on the right path in life. She was a good person. She just had one slip up with the DUI. And based on that, we were able to get a renewal for her. So that's it for this video. If you have any general questions, feel free to put them in the comment box below. If you have specific questions about your situation, click on the link below, book a paid consultation. We can get into the facts of your situation and what can be done to possibly get you back on track.